Welcome to Season 3 of SkillCast, the podcast by the London Organisation of Skills Development. I'm Nurbanu, I'm your host. I'm beyond excited to kick off another season of powerful insights, real conversations, and game-changing skills. This season, we're leveling up, bringing you deeper conversations with experts and visionaries who are redefining success. From mindset shifts to must-have skills, we're unpacking what it really takes to stay ahead in an ever-evolving world. So if you're ready to learn, grow, and be inspired, you're in the right place. Let's get started. Welcome to SkillCast.
Thank you. It is an honor to be here.
Oh, I'm glad. So, how would you like to introduce yourself to people?
So generally, my name is Dr. Demisha Burns. Lovingly, though, people will usually call me Dr. D, Dr. Demisha. Some call me Kamali, which is a journey name that I received about 9 years ago. And it means in our presence, all are made whole. And so depending on which community I'm in at the time, will usually determine what people call me. I say, don't call me Dr. Burns. My mom is a nurse, so she is Nurse Burns. She gets all the credit for that one. So I'll take something else.
So what do you actually do? What does your work involve?
So my background is in social work and a background of over 25 years in that area. I actually left the career field a couple of years ago, or more so, I was kicked out of the career field a couple of months ago. Spirit was just like, I need you to do some other things. And at that time, I was a policy and advocacy manager. And then I had also been invited to be one of the deputy district directors for one of our amazing congresswomen. And so I was like, oh, amazing, my dream job. And Spirit was like, no, I need you to, I have some other work for you to do. And so, but you get comfortable. So I was like, there's a check that's coming in, there's insurance that's coming in. The Spirit was like, no. And then I think I basically put it around for a little bit, was like, I'm good. Spirit was like, no. So pulled me right on out of that. And been out of the career field since. And so I am the founder of Cis Unleashed, Sexuality, Unplugged, and Making Moves, businesses or organizations that are aimed at creating a safe space for Black women in the LGBTQ community to show up unapologetically, holistically, and disruptively to just change the narrative that has been created for Black women, period, but then also Black women, like I said, in the community of dealing with the imposter syndrome, dealing with, who is the loud Black or the crazy Black woman and things of that sort. So changing the narratives that society has put on them, has put on us, and then as well as just helping to write our own story, lift up those voices that have been silenced for so long.
That's quite a mouthful. That's so much going on for you. Why is it that Spirit asks you to do that? Is there something in your life, or because is it just something super random, or is there something in your life that had happened that Spirit said, okay, I think now this should be your calling?
So I think it was a mixture of a few things. One, I think just the way in which my life has just come about, the various things that have taken place. But I think that there's been a calling on my life, period. And I knew it from a young age that I was supposed to be doing something else. And even honestly, supervisors that I've had that was like, you're not supposed to be working for anybody. It was like, it's like, you just have this passion, you have this. I was like, It was like, as soon as you figure out what that niche is, it was like, nah, this is all you. And so I remember thinking, and I was like, in my last position, this is my dream job. And I remember Spirit saying very clearly, yeah, you're talking about a dream job. I'm talking about a life mission. And so just various things that had been taken, that had taken place. I was, when my mother was pregnant with me, I swallowed Capernaum, swallowed feces, so they had to do an emergency cesarean, and then the umbilical cord was wrapped around my neck. So like so many different things that took place where clearly the trickster was like, if I could take her out, then I can get these things done. So there was clearly a calling on my life really early. Even when I was 9 months, I contracted meningitis. So there are various things that had taken place, and just even growing up, domestic violence, molestation and rape survivor. Don't believe myself in being a victim, but I know that various things have taken place. I know that various opportunities have been opened up where I used to always ask why. And then it became one of those things of, well, why not? Because I wouldn't want anybody else to have gone through what I went through. And at the same time, it now helps that when I'm talking to clients, when I'm talking to individuals, when I'm talking to women and men, it helps to set the stage where they know I'm not just talking to them about what I've heard or what I've read. I literally can have those conversations about things that I've actually experienced, whether directly, vicariously, whatever the case may be. And I can talk to them from a genuine space. I can talk to them from a non-judgmental space and from a space of, okay, hey, we have things that happen. Let's absorb that feeling. Let's deal with whatever that is. And now let's make moves, so we don't get stuck where we are. Yes, we're going to deal with that emotion, feel that emotion that we're taught so often to let go of. But no, feel the emotion because that's the only way you can get through it. And then now let's move. So I think a few different things. But yeah, Spirit was definitely clear of like, and I don't plan on going back. So now I'm okay.
When was that? What point in your life does Spirit reach out to you?
Ooh, I honestly can say that Spirit has been reaching out to me for a long time, just throughout life, whether it be through my spoken word. I love to write, whether it be through, being in and out of church. My introduction to church was very different. And so, but even in that, my learnings early on, even when I stepped away from the church, because I learned real early, church is still filled with humans. And I remember there was a pastor, when I left the church for 7 years. And one of the pastors came, I went, I guess, for an event or something. And he said, I want you to remember, he said, the church is just like a hospital. You have people in there that have a cold, all the way to people who may be on their deathbed, which is the same as in church. You have people who are in church who, are truly, truly in love with Spirit, with the divine, with the higher power. And then you have people in there that are going to be playing church, and so you really have to just be open and understand that you're going to get everybody in there. You get a lot of things that are taking place. And so if we make sure that we're not looking at people and that we're actually, looking at the divine, looking at our higher powers, then we understand that people are human, going to make mistakes, and we don't get caught up on that. And so then we can continue to move forward in whatever it is that we're supposed to be doing. The moment we start looking at people, we've missed everything else around. So we've missed our mark. We've missed what we were supposed to be doing. When we keep our eyes on our higher power, then it helps us to get focused on, this is my vision. This is where I'm going. There just may be people in there for whatever reason. And, you interact accordingly. Some with long-handed spoons, some you want to keep close to you, but you always keep your eyes open, keep your spirit open for what it is to come. So
nice. Mm-hmm. So what do you tell, are you open about this with your loved ones, your family and things, or do you like to keep, in the initial stage, did you just keep it to yourself?
I think initially it was me trying to figure out what it was. I was like, I can't explain it to you if I don't understand, so, and I think that there's still so many things that you still learn, because I still don't think that I know everything. I'm still open to constantly just learning and just being aware of the various things that are going on. But yeah, with my family, I tend to be very open. I never was just let me just have this whole conversation with everybody. But I tell people all the time, you can ask me whatever question you want to. You just may not always like the answer. So, I don't mind being transparent in that aspect. And so
does the Spirit give you advice? If someone in a family member comes to you and say, can you tell me if this is the right decision I'm making in this personal decision in my life? Is that something you can respond to, or only Spirit comes to you at certain times? And
no, so it's definitely I definitely am a sounding board. I definitely am a confidant that, that family and close friends at the same time. And actually what's crazy is that not even necessarily, so yes, family, close friends, but I've had strangers that, we've had conversations and they'll be like, you just seem like somebody I can talk to. You just seem like somebody, I can just confide. And I'll be like, yeah, because generally if you're going to say something to me, it's going to stay there. And so, but what I've learned is that before I open up my mouth, my mental conversation with Spirit is always give me the words to say. Because what I realize is that it doesn't need to be my words. It doesn't need to be me directing it, because if it's especially if it's for somebody else, then they're not my words anyway. It's just, help me be that tool that you designed for me to be, that you've created me to be, and help me be humble enough and open enough to make sure keep pride out the way. So what it is that I understand.
Obviously, look, I can imagine, because you dress really well and you've got lots of features on you. Like you've got reasons for people to have conversation. Like you've got tattoos, you've got interesting earrings on, you've got funky glasses, you've got a style to you. So it's quite, people feel comfortable already reaching out, and you've got a beautiful smile as well. So people feel comfortable and they're telling you all of this stuff. So you've got your family, you've got outsiders, you just got random people just wanting to talk to you about their problems. How do you stay sane? Like, are you an empath that you just absorb all of this energy, or are you able to kind of block it off? Or like, what is your strategy?
There is a process. So empath in general, I won't say that I'm as full of an empath. Like, I would say that my partner, my fiance, is more of an empath than I am in that regard. I'm an empath with with my fiance, I definitely feel her energy. With my family, I definitely feel, their energy. Like, it used to be, I'd be in a different state. I can tell when my mom was sick or when something was going on, and literally it would be like, hey, what's good? And so even when I returned back home, I knew something was happening, before, and she was diagnosed with cancer a year later, and so really just being able to just be in tune. But part of that is, helping me to balance. And it took a while. It took a while to figure out that balance. And I still don't think that I have it 100. And I still know that I don't have it 100%, but it's a day by day. And so there are things. I have a morning routine, and I call it my 3 W's. So it's my workout, my worship, and my water. So if I get up and I start my day, and I don't always get it right, but my desired start day is get up and just have that time with the divine, have that time with spirit, have that time with myself, and just be still. I like to journal, let me get some stuff out. Let me, see what's coming down, get some downloads, whatever the case may be. Get water, just because that's a good way to replenish your spirit, replenish your body, period. And it also helps to just refresh, renew. So it's clearing out, whatever it was from the day before and getting you started with the next day. And then just working out, period. Like, that's just a good way. When I've worked out, I feel so much better, period. When I don't, I can feel that too. So that is a way of being able to start that piece. And then as people come, one of the other prayers or one of the other conversations is, let me keep what is needed. Let me let go of what is don't, what is not. And so then that way, it's figuring out, having those, as I'm having those conversations, being able to differentiate between the pieces that I need to keep, and the pieces that need to just come through me. Because sometimes it's just a conversation. Sometimes people just need to release. And as they're releasing, I don't necessarily have to hold on to it, but it can just, go through me as I'm just having, a conversation, or just lifting it up, in prayer, or, and just whatever the case may be. So it really just depends on what's going on. And then sometimes it really is where you have to feed people with a long-handed spoon. So understanding that you have to protect your space. And so there are sometimes, if I feel a spirit, I'm like, I don't like that, I'm good. And so spirit will definitely tell you,
I feel that energy.
Yeah. I'd be like, no, not that one. Let's try again. So I think that it's also understanding that no is a complete sentence, and understanding that not right now, or, maybe a different type of conversation. So maybe a text conversation is needed instead of an actual verbal or in person conversation. So I think each situation is different. So I can't just say, this is what happens in all these situations. It really just varies.
But let's move on to a little bit about sexuality.
Mm-hmm.
How did your family take it when you mentioned to them that, or was it spirit that told you about the whole sexuality side of things? Like, what was it?
So I think it was a mixture of a few different things. And me attempting to figure it out when I was just growing up. And so I remember, what would I say? I remember trying to differentiate, I guess, when I was older. Like, I've had some family members that was like, oh, we already know, like it didn't matter. And then there's some who were like, let me go back. We have religious in regards to religion in our family in some places. So you have some people who are like, okay, well, I don't agree with that. That's fine. And so I tell people all the time, you agree with whatever you want to agree with. I'm not asking for permission when I share, with people with regards to sex or sexuality or things like that. It literally is generally just a sharing. And so if I'm having a conversation with you, if I'm sharing this piece, because I just want you to be aware, not necessarily be asking, well, what are your thoughts about this or anything of that sort. Spirit and I have had those conversations, and for a long time, yes, had those different thought processes on what society had said. And so what society had built and had pushed down, especially because, like I said, I was raised, in the church initially. So for so long it was that we're going to browbeat you. We're gonna, it was more so abusive talk, or we're not gonna directly talk about this, but we're gonna be negative. So this is no good, same as, like premarital sex or things of that sort. And there wasn't any conversation about, the various things that are taking place. And so for me, what I realized is that I am drawn to spirit. So the spirit in somebody else is what I'm drawn to, whether it be a male, whether it be, or, a male appearing, a female appearing, like whatever it is. I enjoy spirit, period, of both. And it's just whatever one at that time, then that is the way it is with regards to, for me, with regards to just sexuality and just identifying, because the reality is, if we want to look at the spectrum, or if we want to look at the continuum, both men and women, we are born with both masculine energy and, and feminine energy. And a lot of people don't tap into that. They don't share, they don't even acknowledge, the fact that, that is the case. And so, like, depending on, the way in which somebody is born, which is why you also may have a child that is born with both female and male parts, according to the way that the Western society, or according to the way society deems fit. So there's a lot of different nuances that go along with sexuality, and just things that sort of in the way in which it's been shared or stated. So just navigating those pieces and helping people get comfortable with who they are, whatever it is, whatever that looks like. So
what's this, what state is it that you're from?
I'm from California.
California. Mm-hmm. So what's it like in California when, let's say, a child is born? If it's do they give it a gender to say this is the male, this is the female, or they just say baby? What's the situation there? Oh no, so yeah, in general, you will have they will gender, yes. They will gender, yes, they will. What's your view on that? Are you cool with it, or is it up to the child later in life to figure out where they stand?
I think I'm open. I haven't quite decided where I stand on that regards. Because I think that, and some of that may just be the way in which I was raised. I think that, yes, I am a woman, but I also don't have particular pronouns. So when people are like, well, what are your pronouns? I'd be like, whatever I respond to. If I don't respond, choose something else. I think that when we talk about children and them coming up, then I think there are different social constructs with regards to just helping or assisting in coming up. Now, I think that, yes, as a child gets older and they start to identify, then I think that as adults, we need to listen, pay attention to it. I don't think that we need to be like, that is bad, you should not do this, that, and the other. But I think we need to, hey, what are we seeing? What are we observing? Like, not just having negative talk with our children, but also then just being a listening ear. Because I think that usually when there's a listening ear, then children are able to maneuver, and then they're able to really explore and figure out, okay, hey, is this just exploration that's going on, or is this something that actually is, a direction that I'm being called into, or that I want to go into, or whatever the case may be. I think, let me put the pin in that real quick. I think that where a lot of people go wrong is that a lot of people will say, if we're talking about the continuum, somebody is a lesbian, or somebody is a homosexual, somebody's gay, or this, that, and the other, because they're confused, or because, they've been raped or molested. So heard all that. And it's like, no, sweetheart, that is not the case all the time. Now, yes, there are some cases where, because somebody has been raped or molested, then sometimes they will, go forward in that, in that realm. But generally, that is not the case for everybody. And so definitely want that myth to be dispelled, that is not always the case. And you have people who will tell you, I've known since this age, I've known since that age, or heck, I didn't even know until, somebody just randomly kissed me. So, I've seen and heard all the different, types of stories. I'm sure there are definitely, more, but I think that that's where a lot of times where society puts their stigmas and puts their, this is my quote unquote normality. But then the question is, well, what's normal? And what's not normal? Because even if we get, if we go religious, and I don't necessarily want to go there, but like if we do the research and just various things that, that took place, like, even in the King's Guard, and just like who would be around the princesses and who they would have, around the men and the women, and which places. So there's a whole lot of different pieces and a lot of different research that go into it, if we look historically. And so, and I think that a lot of times when we just talk from our perspective and don't look at the whole picture, or don't do our history, don't do our due diligence and our research, then I think we miss out on a lot of things. Now, coming back to your original question of just with the gendering, I do not have a particular stance on it. I won't take a stance even at this point. Do I think I don't have a particular stance. Like, I don't feel negative or positive about it. Whether, if somebody is born, and it can be, hey, with masculine features or feminine features, like whatever the case may be. Because I mean, if that's the way in which it is, with regards to how the system is set up, then yes, then I think even as I spoke about before, where we put people into a box, however, not keeping somebody in a box. So as a child, gets older and starts to identify or self-identify, then I think that that's the piece that needs to be addressed, so then kids can understand that, hey, I'm figuring out who I am, or, I'm figuring out where my role is and what that looks like. And so I think that is pretty much where I stand there, while understanding that, yes, children also need guidance and, things of that sort. So there's a lot of different pieces that go into that, or a lot of different thoughts that I have that go into that. So hopefully that makes sense.
Thank you so much for your time and your explanations and sharing your perspectives.